The florist's hands trembled as she delivered white roses to a man she'd never met. What he noticed changed everything. Bruises that told a story of betrayal, courage, and a choice that would ignite a war. When protection becomes obsession and gratitude transforms into something darker, one woman must decide if power is worth the price. If you're new here, subscribe and comment your location. Now let's begin. Alina's hands shook as she carried the white roses through the rain. 30 of them. She knew what they meant. She delivered flowers like these before. To a restaurant owner who closed his business 3 days later. To a lawyer who disappeared. To a woman who stopped answering her phone. White roses from Marko Volkov meant someone was marked. The bruise on her ribs screamed with each step. The other bruises, the ones on her back and shoulders, those hurt worse. Marko had used a metal pipe. He'd smiled while he did it. Said things like, "This is just a reminder, and imagine what happens if you really disobey me." She disobeyed him anyway. He'd given her the roses that morning. Told her to deliver them to Dante's restaurant by noon. Told her the small black device hidden in the base of the arrangement would activate once she set it down. Told her not to ask questions. She asked anyway, "What does it do?" Marko had laughed. "It tracks movement, heat signatures, tells us exactly where our friend Dante is at all times, makes him easier to visit later." And when she'd said no, when she'd said she wouldn't help him kill someone, he'd beaten her until she couldn't stand. Then he'd hauled her up by her hair and said her sister Sophia had a nice apartment on Maple Street. Be a shame if something happened to it. Alina didn't have a sister, but Marko didn't know that. The lie was the only thing keeping her alive. So she'd taken the roses, removed the device in the bathroom of a coffee shop 6 blocks away, flushed it down the toilet, then wrapped the stems again like nothing had happened. Now she stood outside Dante's restaurant, soaking wet, holding flowers that should have been a death sentence. She pushed through the door. The restaurant was beautiful, dark wood, low lighting, the kind of place where powerful people ate expensive food and made decisions that changed the city. A dozen tables, half of them full, men in suits, women in elegant dresses, everyone looked important. Except the man sitting alone in the corner. He didn't look important, he looked dangerous. Dark hair, dark suit, a face that gave nothing away. He was reading a newspaper, actually reading it, not pretending. His espresso sat untouched beside him. He had the kind of stillness that made you nervous, like a predator deciding whether you were worth chasing. Alina walked toward him. Her wet shoes squeaked on the floor. Several people looked up, looked at her, looked away. She reached his table, set the vase down. Water sloshed over the edge. "Delivery for Dante Morty," she said. Her voice shook. He looked up slowly. His eyes were dark brown, almost black. They moved from her face to the flowers to her trembling hands to the way she held her left side. "I didn't order flowers," he said. His voice was quiet, controlled, the kind of voice that didn't need to be loud to make you listen. Marko Volkov sent them. The entire restaurant went silent. Every conversation stopped. Every fork went down. 6 men she hadn't noticed before all turned to look at her. They'd been scattered around the room, blending in. Now they were alert, ready. Dante Morty stood up. He was taller than she'd expected, broader. He moved like someone who'd been in fights and won them. "Put the flowers down," he said. She set the vase on the table. "Step back." She took 3 steps back. Her ribs screamed. She bit her lip to keep from making a sound. Dante pulled the arrangement apart. He didn't rush, didn't panic, just methodically separated each stem, checked the base, checked the vase, checked the wrapping. When he found nothing, he looked at her with different eyes. "Where is it?" he asked. "In a toilet 6 blocks from my shop." "You removed it." "Yes." "Then came here anyway." "Yes." "Why?" Alina's throat was tight. She was so tired, so scared, so angry at Marko and herself and the whole situation. "Because I don't help people murder other people, even if it costs me everything." Dante stared at her, really stared, like he was reading words written on her skin. Then he turned to one of his men. "Luca, lock the door, check her for weapons." A man with silver hair and hard eyes approached her. He patted her down professionally. No touching that wasn't necessary. He found nothing. "She's clean," Luca said. Dante gestured to a chair. "Sit." Elena sat. Her legs were shaking so badly she almost collapsed into it. Dante sat across from her, folded his hands on the table. "What's your name?" "Elena." "Elena, how long have you been working for Marco?" "I don't work for him. I own a flower shop. 3 months ago he came in, said he needed arrangements delivered, said he'd pay well. I said yes." "When did it change?" 5 days ago, he asked me to deliver something extra, a package hidden in flowers. I said no. He said I didn't have a choice. I said I did." She touched her ribs. He disagreed. "But you still said no." "I still said no. Even after he hurt you." "Even after." Dante leaned back. "Marco told you to deliver these flowers today, with the tracking device. What did he say would happen if you did?" "He said my sister would have an accident." "Do you have a sister?" Elena laughed. It hurt. "No, but he doesn't know that. I lied. It bought me time to figure out what to do." "And what you decided to do was remove the device and deliver the flowers anyway, to warn me." "I decided not to help someone kill you. The warning was just part of that." One of the other men, younger with dark eyes, spoke up. "Boss, this could be a setup. Marco could be using her." "If Marco was using her, the device would still be in the flowers, James," Dante said. He didn't look away from Elena. "Does Marco know you removed it?" "Not yet. He'll try to activate it remotely. When nothing happens, he'll know." "How long do we have?" "He told me to deliver by noon. It's 11:40 now. Maybe 20 minutes before he realizes." "And then?" "Then he'll come to my shop. When I'm not there, he'll check my apartment. When I'm not there either, he'll burn both places down and put a price on my head." Dante nodded, like she just confirmed something he already suspected. "You understand what you've done by coming here, by telling me this. You've picked a side." "I didn't pick a side. I just refused to be his weapon." "In this world, that's the same thing." Dante stood. "Luca, get the car. We're taking her to see Rita." "Boss, we don't know if we can trust her," Luca said. "She's got 2 broken ribs and bruises all over her back. Marco did that because she wouldn't help him kill me. That's all I need to know." Dante looked at Elena. "Can you walk?" "I made it here." "That's not what I asked." Elena tried to stand, made it halfway before her vision went black around the edges. She sat back down hard. Dante moved fast. He was beside her in 2 steps. "When did you last eat?" "Yesterday morning." "When did Marco hurt you?" "Yesterday afternoon." He swore under his breath, not at her, at the situation. He turned to James. "Get her some bread and water now." James disappeared into the kitchen, came back with fresh bread and a bottle of water. Elena ate slowly. Everything hurt, but the food helped. The water helped more. "Better?" Dante asked. "A little." "Good, because we need to move. Marco will figure out what happened any minute now. When he does, he'll send people here. I'd rather not be here when they arrive." "I'm sorry," Elena said. "I didn't mean to bring trouble to your door." "You didn't bring trouble. Marco did. You just warned me about it. There's a difference." He offered his hand. "Can you stand now?" She took his hand, stood, the room tilted but steadied. "Yes." "Then let's go." The car was black, expensive, tinted windows. Luca drove. Another man, older with scarred knuckles, sat in the front passenger seat. Dante sat in the back with Elena. They drove through the city. Rain hammered the windows. Elena watched the streets pass, wondered if she'd ever see her shop again. Probably not. Marco would burn it. She spent 5 years building that business. 5 years of early mornings and late nights and learning which flowers meant what and how to make people smile with a simple arrangement. Gone because she'd refused to kill someone. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Somewhere safe," Dante said. "My doctor will look at your ribs, then we'll talk about Marco." There's nothing to talk about. He wants me dead. He won't stop until I am. Then we'll make sure he stops wanting. Alina looked at him. You can't kill him. He's got protection. Cops, politicians, judges. You touch him and the whole system comes down on you. Dante smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I'm not going to kill him, Alina. I'm going to do something worse. I'm going to take everything he's built and tear it apart piece by piece until he's got nothing left but a prison cell. How? With information, strategy, patience, and help from someone who's been inside his operation for 3 months. He looked at her. Someone like you. I'm a florist. You're a woman who's been delivering flowers to Marco's associates for 3 months. You've seen their homes, their offices, their routines. You know things you don't even realize are valuable. Alina hadn't thought about it that way, but he was right. She delivered to dozens of places, seen dozens of faces, noticed things, details. She remembered a man who'd answered his door at 3 in the afternoon wearing pajamas and counting money. Remembered an office where the secretary looked terrified. Remembered an apartment where she'd heard someone crying in another room. What kind of information do you need? She asked. Everything you remember, every delivery, every face, every detail that seemed wrong. That's a lot. I've got time, and you're not going anywhere until you're safe. The building they pulled up to looked like a medical office. Clean, professional, but there were cameras everywhere, and the security guard at the front desk had a gun. Inside, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and capable hands examined Alina. Her name was Rita. She didn't ask who'd hurt her, just cleaned the wounds, wrapped the ribs, gave her pain medication and antibiotics. 2 broken ribs, Rita said. Severe bruising across your back and shoulders. Someone hit you with something metal, probably a pipe. That's accurate, Alina said. Rita's mouth went tight. You need rest, real rest. No heavy lifting, no sudden movements, and if you have trouble breathing, you tell someone immediately. How long until I can move normally? 6 weeks, maybe 8. I don't have 8 weeks. Then you'd better not get hit again, because next time it might be your spine. Alina nodded. Rita gave her more pills, told her to take them every 6 hours, then left her alone in the examination room. Dante came in 5 minutes later. He carried a bag. Clothes, he said. You're about Rita's size. She said you could borrow these until we get you something better. Alina looked down at herself. Her shirt was torn, covered in rain and blood. Thank you. There's a bathroom next door. Take your time, we'll wait. She changed carefully. Rita's clothes fit well enough. A soft sweater, clean jeans, socks. When she came out, she felt almost human again. Dante was waiting in the hallway. Better. Much. Good. Let's go upstairs. We'll talk there. Upstairs was an apartment. Expensive, comfortable, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, leather furniture, a kitchen that looked like it belonged in a magazine. You live here? Alina asked. Sometimes, when I need to be close to the medical building. Dante gestured to the couch. Sit, I'll make coffee. She sat, sank into the cushions, realized she was exhausted. When Dante came back with 2 cups of coffee, she forced herself to sit up straighter. Now, Dante said, tell me everything about Marco's operation. Start from the beginning. Alina told him 3 months of deliveries. She described each location, each person, each detail she could remember. Dante listened without interrupting, took notes, asked clarifying questions. When she mentioned a warehouse where she delivered every Tuesday, his eyes sharpened. This warehouse, what did it look like? Empty, or it seemed empty, but there were always cars outside, expensive ones, black SUVs, government plates. Government plates, Dante repeated. Yes, I thought it was strange, but I just dropped off the flowers and left. Dante made a phone call, spoke quietly, hung up. That warehouse is owned by a shell company. The shell company is registered to someone on the city council, Richard Hayes. The one who's always on TV talking about fighting organized crime. That's the one. Alina felt cold. Marco owns him. Marco owns a lot of people, but ownership creates vulnerabilities. Meetings, payments, records, all of that can be traced, and once we start tracing it, the whole structure collapses. You make it sound simple. It's not simple, it's methodical. Marco built his empire by making people afraid, by forcing compliance. But fear is fragile. It only works as long as he's stronger than everyone else. The moment he shows weakness, people start defecting. So we make him look weak. We make him actually weak. Then we let everyone see it. Over the next hour, Elena told Dante everything else she could remember. A judge who'd signed for flowers at 7 in the morning looking nervous. An accountant who'd had papers spread across his desk that he'd quickly covered when she arrived. A police detective who'd answered the door with a gun in his hand. Each detail added to the picture. And slowly, Elena began to understand the scope of what Marco had built and how vulnerable it actually was. "You see patterns," Dante said when she finished. "Most people would deliver flowers and forget about it. You remembered faces, times, details. That's rare. I just noticed things. That's exactly what makes you dangerous to Marco and valuable to me." He set down his coffee. "I need to know something, Elena. Do you want revenge or do you want safety?" "What's the difference?" "Revenge means you help me destroy Marco completely. You stay involved, gather more information, take risks. It's dangerous, but it's effective. Safety means I give you money and a new identity. You disappear. Start over somewhere Marco can't find you. It's safer, but Marco stays in power." Elena thought about her shop. Her grandmother's scissors that had melted in the fire Marco would set tonight. The life she'd built, the person she'd been. That person was gone. Marco had killed her when he'd put his hands on her, when he'd threatened her, when he'd tried to turn her into a weapon. "I want revenge," she said, "but not just for me, for everyone Marco's hurt, everyone he's threatened, everyone who's too afraid to fight back. I want him gone, completely." Dante smiled. It was the first real smile she'd seen from him. "Then we're on the same side." "What do I do?" "First, you heal. You can't help me if you're in pain. Second, you remember everything else you can. Write it down, dates, times, faces, locations, everything. Third, when you're ready, we start taking Marco apart." "How long will that take?" "Weeks, maybe months. Marco's been building his operation for 5 years. It won't fall overnight, but it will fall. I promise you that." Elena believed him. Something about the way he said it. The certainty. The cold calculation. Dante Morty wasn't making threats. He was stating facts. "Where do I stay?" she asked. "Here, this apartment, it's secure. Cameras, guards. Marco's people can't touch you here." "Won't that put you at risk, having me here?" "I'm always at risk. That's the life I chose. But you didn't choose this. Marco forced it on you. The least I can do is keep you safe while we make him pay for it." Elena felt something crack open in her chest. Relief, gratitude, something else she couldn't name. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. This isn't going to be easy. Marco will figure out you're working with me. He'll come after you harder. We'll protect you. But the danger doesn't go away. It gets worse before it gets better." "I understand." "Do you? Because once we start this, there's no going back. You can't change your mind. Can't walk away. You're either all in or you're out now." Elena thought about the roses she'd delivered, the tracking device she'd flushed, the choice she'd already made. She'd chosen not to kill someone, chosen to warn a stranger, chosen to do the right thing even when it cost her everything. This was just the next choice in the same direction. "I'm all in," she said. Dante nodded. "Then rest. Tomorrow we start planning, and tomorrow night we make Marco's life very complicated." Elena finished her coffee. Let Dante show her to a bedroom. Clean sheets, soft pillows, a lock on the door. She lay down carefully. Her ribs hurt less thanks to Rita's medication. Her exhaustion was catching up to her. But before she fell asleep, she thought about Marco, about the empire he'd built, about the people he'd hurt. And she smiled, because for the first time in 3 months, she wasn't afraid. She was angry, and anger was so much better than fear. The next morning, Alina woke to the smell of coffee. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then the pain in her ribs reminded her. Everything came rushing back. Marco, the roses, Dante. She got up slowly, walked to the kitchen. Dante was already there, dressed in a fresh suit, reading something on his phone. He looked up when she entered. "How are the ribs?" he asked. "Painful, but manageable." He poured her coffee, black, no sugar. Somehow he already knew how she took it. "Eat something, then we have work to do." There was bread, cheese, fruit. She ate while Dante made phone calls. His voice was always the same. Quiet, controlled. But the people on the other end jumped when he spoke. She could hear it in their responses. When he finished, he sat across from her. "Marco burned your shop last night, like you predicted. He also put out word that you stole from him. Anyone who sees you is supposed to call him immediately." Alina's stomach tightened. "He's making me a target." "He's making you desperate. He thinks you'll panic, run, make mistakes. He doesn't know you're here, and he definitely doesn't know you're working with me." "What if someone recognizes me?" "They won't, not where we're going." Dante slid a box across the table. "Open it." Inside was hair dye, dark brown, almost black, contacts, glasses, makeup. "You want me to change how I look?" "I want you invisible. Marco's people are looking for a blonde woman with green eyes who works with flowers. We're going to give them someone completely different." 2 hours later, Alina looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. Dark hair, brown eyes behind plain glasses, different makeup that changed the shape of her face. She looked older, harder, nothing like the woman who delivered flowers. "Good," Dante said when he saw her. "Now we move." They took a different car. A plain sedan, nothing expensive. Luca drove. James sat in the back with Alina. Dante sat in the front passenger seat. "Where are we going?" Alina asked. "To see someone who owes me a favor," Dante said. "Someone who has information about Marco's financial structure." They drove to a neighborhood Alina didn't recognize. Middle class, quiet. They stopped in front of a small house with a neat lawn. Dante got out, gestured for Alina to follow. The man who answered the door was in his 60s. Gray hair, nervous eyes. He looked at Dante and went pale. "Mr. Morty, I wasn't expecting you." "I know. Can we come in, David?" David stepped aside. His hands were shaking. Inside, the house was clean but sparse. A widow, Alina guessed, or divorced, no sign of family. "This is Alina," Dante said. "She's helping me with a project. She's going to ask you some questions. You're going to answer them honestly." Of course, of course." David sat heavily on his couch. "What do you need to know?" Alina pulled out the notebook Dante had given her. "You used to work for Marco Volkov as his accountant. Is that correct?" David's face went even paler. "That was a long time ago." 3 years, Dante said. "Not that long." "I don't work for him anymore. I'm retired." "You're hiding," Alina said gently. "There's a difference. What made you leave?" David was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Marco asked me to do something I couldn't do. He wanted me to move money through a children's charity, use sick kids as cover for his drug operations. I said no. He said I didn't have a choice. I disappeared before he could change my mind." "And he let you go?" Alina asked. "Mr. Morty made sure he let me go," David said, looking at Dante. "In exchange, I gave him copies of Marco's financial records, everything I had access to." Alina looked at Dante. He hadn't mentioned this. Hadn't mentioned he'd been working against Marco for years. "Those records helped me understand Marco's operation," Dante said. "But they're 3 years old. Things have changed. I need updated information. And David's going to tell us where to find it." David nodded slowly. "Marco keeps everything on a private server now. After I left, he stopped trusting paper. Everything's digital, encrypted." "Where's the server?" Alina asked. "In his office, the building on 7th Street, 3rd floor, but you can't get to it. Security is too tight. Cameras, guards, biometric locks." "What about the accountant who replaced you?" Alina asked. "Would he have access?" "Paul Chen, Yes, he'd have full access, but he's loyal to Marco, you can't turn him. Alina thought about the man she'd seen. The one counting money in his pajamas at 3 in the afternoon. The one who'd looked nervous every time she delivered flowers. What if we don't need to turn him? What if we just need to watch him? Dante looked at her. Explain. I delivered to Paul's apartment 4 times, always on Friday afternoons, always around 3. He was always home, always counting cash, large amounts. He'd answer the door, take the flowers, go right back to counting. What if he's skimming? David's eyes widened. If he's skimming, Marco will kill him. Not if Marco doesn't know, Alina said. But if we had proof, if we could show Paul that we know what he's doing, we could use that leverage. Dante smiled. That cold, calculating smile. You're thinking like someone who belongs in this world, Alina. I'm thinking like someone who wants Marco gone. They left David's house an hour later with more information. Account numbers, shell company names, connections David had remembered. It was all 3 years old, but it was a foundation. In the car, Dante made more calls. By the time they got back to the apartment, he had a plan. We watch Paul, he said. Starting tonight, we document everything. How much cash he takes home, when, from where, we build a case, then we approach him. And if he refuses to help, then we send the evidence to Marco and let nature take its course. Either way, Marco loses his accountant. That night, Alina watched from a distance as Paul Chen left Marco's building carrying a briefcase. James followed him, took photos, watched him enter his apartment, watched him through the window as he opened the briefcase and pulled out stacks of cash. They did this for 5 nights straight. Same routine, same briefcase, same cash. On the 6th night, Dante decided it was time. They waited until Paul left his apartment the next morning, followed him to a coffee shop, sat down at his table before he could react. Paul Chen, Dante said quietly, we need to talk. Paul's face went white. He recognized Dante. Everyone in this world knew Dante Morty. I don't have anything to say to you, Paul said. That's fine, I'll do the talking. Dante slid a folder across the table. That's you, 6 nights in a row, taking Marco's money home, counting it, keeping some for yourself. We estimate you've stolen about $200,000 in the past 3 months. Paul opened the folder, saw the photos. His hands started shaking. Marco would kill me, he whispered. Yes, Dante said. He would, slowly, publicly, as a message to everyone else. That's what happens to thieves in his organization. What do you want? Information, full access to Marco's financial records, everything on his server, bank accounts, shell companies, money flows, all of it. I can't, he'll know. He monitors everything. Not if you do it carefully, Alina said. She'd been quiet until now. Paul looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. You have legitimate reasons to access those files. You're his accountant. You review records every day. All we need is for you to copy them. Put them on a drive. Leave the drive somewhere we can pick it up. Marco never needs to know. And if he finds out? Then you have a bigger problem than us, Dante said. But if you help us, we'll protect you. When Marco falls, and he will fall, you'll be safe. You'll keep the money you stole. You'll walk away clean. That's the deal. Paul was sweating. He looked at the photos again, looked at Dante, at Alina. How do I know you'll keep your word? Because I kept my word to David. 3 years ago, he helped me. I made sure Marco couldn't touch him. He's still alive, still safe. That's how you know. Paul was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. Okay, I'll do it, but it'll take time. The files are huge. I can't copy everything at once without raising flags. How long? Alina asked. 2 weeks, maybe 3. I'll do it in pieces, make it look like normal backups. You have 1 week, Dante said. After that, these photos go to Marco. 1 week isn't enough. Then work faster. They left Paul sitting at the table, staring at the photos. Alina could see his mind working, calculating, deciding if betraying Marco was worth staying alive. He'll do it, she said once they were back in the car. How do you know? Dante asked. Because he's been stealing for months. That means he's already planning to run. He just needed a push. We gave him one. Dante looked at her with something like respect. You read people well. I've had practice. You learn to read customers when you work retail. Learn to see who's going to complain, who's going to tip, who's going to cause problems. Paul's not loyal to Marco. He's just scared. Fear we can work with. 5 days later, Paul left a USB drive and a library book. James picked it up, brought it to Dante. When they opened it, they found everything. 5 years of financial records, bank accounts in 3 countries, shell companies, money laundering operations, bribes, payoffs. Everything Marco had built was laid out in spreadsheets and documents. This is enough to put him away for life, Lucas said, reviewing the files. It's enough to destroy him, Dante corrected. But we don't send it to the police. Not yet. First, we use it. Use it how? Alina asked. We contact everyone Marco been paying, everyone who owes him, everyone who's afraid of him. We show them proof that we have all his records, that we know what they've done. And we offer them a choice. Work with us to bring Marco down, or we expose them too. You're turning his own people against him. I'm giving them permission to do what they already want to do. Nobody actually likes Marco. They just fear him. Take away the fear, give them a safer option, and they'll switch sides. Over the next week, Dante's people made contact. The police detective who'd answered his door with a gun. The judge who'd taken bribes. The city councilman who used Marco's money to fund his campaigns. One by one, Dante approached them, showed them the evidence, offered them a deal. Testify against Marco, help build a case. In exchange, they'd get reduced sentences, protection, a way out. Most of them took the deal. The ones who didn't found their crimes leaked to the press. Anonymous tips, sudden investigations. Their lives fell apart while Marco watched helplessly. Alina watched it all happen from Dante's apartment. She helped review files, identify targets, plan approaches. She was good at it, better than she'd expected. She understood people, understood fear and leverage and motivation. And slowly, she realized something. She didn't miss her flower shop, didn't miss the quiet life she'd had. This felt right, purposeful, like she was finally using skills she'd had all along but never had a reason to develop. Dante noticed. You're not going back to flowers, are you? He asked one night. They were reviewing files together, sitting close, working in comfortable silence. No, Alina said. I don't think I am. What do you want instead? This, what we're doing, taking down people who hurt others, protecting people who can't protect themselves. I'm good at it, Dante. I didn't know I could be good at something like this, but I am. He looked at her, really looked at her. You're better than most people I've worked with for years. You see things, understand patterns, you're strategic, careful, patient. I learned from the best. Something shifted between them, something that had been building for weeks. Proximity, trust, respect. Alina felt it. The way Dante's eyes stayed on her a moment too long. The way his hand brushed hers when they reached for the same file. The way the air felt thicker when they were alone. Alina, he said quietly. Yes. When this is over, when Marco's gone, I want you to stay, not as someone I'm protecting, as someone who works with me, a partner. A partner. Someone who helps me run things, make decisions, build something better than what Marco had, something that doesn't rely on fear. You trust me that much. I trust you more than almost anyone. You saved my life, risked everything to do it. That's not something I forget. Alina felt warmth spread through her chest. I'll stay, but not just for work. No, I'll stay because when I'm with you, I feel like I matter. Like I'm more than just someone who delivers flowers or follows orders. You see me, really see me. And I need you to know that I see you too. Not just the dangerous man everyone's afraid of. The person underneath. The one who protects people. Who keeps his word. Who's been slowly taking apart a monster because it's the right thing to do. Dante was quiet. Then he reached out, touched her face. Gentle, careful. I'm not a good man, Alina. I've done things, hurt people. Made choices most people would call evil. I know, but you're a man with a code. You don't hurt people who don't deserve it. You protect the weak. You keep your promises. That's more than most people can say. It's more than enough for me." He kissed her then, soft at first, testing. When she kissed him back, it deepened, became more certain, more real. When they broke apart, Elena was breathless. "This complicates things," Dante said. "Everything's already complicated. This just makes it better." He smiled, actually smiled. "Yes, it does." 2 weeks later, they had everything they needed. Testimony, documents, evidence from a dozen sources. Dante handed it all to a federal prosecutor he trusted. Someone Marco hadn't gotten to. Someone who'd been building a case against organized crime for years and just needed the right ammunition. The arrests happened fast. Marco first, then his lieutenants, then his associates. One by one, the empire fell. Some fled, most were caught. The ones who'd made deals testified. The ones who hadn't went to prison. Marco's trial lasted 3 months. Elena attended every day, watched him realize what was happening, watched his face when David testified, when Paul testified, when the police detective and the judge and the councilman all told the truth about what Marco had made them do. The jury deliberated for 6 hours, found him guilty on all counts, life in prison, no possibility of parole. When the verdict was read, Marco looked directly at Elena. His eyes were full of rage. He mouthed something. She couldn't hear it, but she could read his lips. "You did this." She nodded. "Yes, I did." Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Dante kept Elena away from the cameras. They got in the car, drove back to the apartment that had become her home. "It's over," Dante said. "Yes. You're free. You can do anything you want now. Go anywhere, be anyone." Elena looked at him, this man who'd protected her, trusted her, taught her, loved her. "I want to stay with you, build something better, like you said." "Are you sure? This life isn't safe. There will always be someone like Marco, someone who wants what we have, someone who'll come after us." "I know, but we'll face them together, as partners." Dante pulled her close, kissed her forehead. "Partners, I like the sound of that." 6 months later, Elena stood in what used to be Marco's building. Dante had bought it, renovated it, turned it into something legitimate. A community center on the first floor, business offices on the second, their operation on the third. They ran things differently than Marco had. No fear, no violence unless absolutely necessary. They protected businesses, mediated disputes, kept the peace. People came to them because they trusted Dante, because they knew he kept his word. And Elena was part of it, equal partner. She handled negotiations, read people, identified problems before they escalated. She was good at it, better than good. That night, Dante found her on the balcony, handed her a glass of wine. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "Marco, the roses, how everything changed in one day." "Do you regret it?" "No, never. If I hadn't walked into your restaurant that day, I'd still be just a florist. Small life, small dreams. You gave me something bigger." "You gave yourself something bigger. You made the choice. I just provided the opportunity." Elena leaned against him. "We make a good team." "The best." They stood there watching the city. Their city now, the one they protected, the one they'd fought for. And Elena knew she'd made the right choice. All those months ago, when she'd removed the device from the roses, when she'd walked into Dante's restaurant, when she'd chosen not to be Marco's weapon. She'd chosen herself, her conscience, her future. And now that future was everything she'd never known she wanted. Thank you for watching Elena's transformation from florist to queen of the underworld. Now I need to know, would you have removed that tracking device and risked everything, or played it safe? Drop your answer and your location in the comments below. Subscribe for more Mafia romance stories that'll leave you breathless.